As the first cartoon show, Dexter's Laboratory played an important role in Cartoon Network's development. It was obviously the show that put Genndy Tartakovsky on the map, and in fact, he was one of the first animation creators whose name I became familiar with. But he was not the only person who benefited from the show. What Dexter's Lab did particularly well was nurture the talent at Hanna-Barbera, many of whom would lead successful animation careers of their own. And I'm going to count down some of those names who appeared in the show's credits, many of which you might recognize, starting with Andy Bialk. One of his early jobs in animation was doing layouts and backgrounds for Dexter's Lab, and it's fitting much of his early career was spent at Hanna-Barbera, because that seems to have been the biggest influence on his work. When you look at his art, he has a talent for doing flat drawings that also have a lot of life to them. Later, he would serve as a character designer on the Powerpuff Girls and Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends, and he had a stint at DreamWorks, providing designs for productions like Megamind, The Penguins of Madagascar television series, and How to Train Your Dragon. He received particular acclaim for The Ricky Gervais Show, an animated version of the British Comedians podcast, which went for a very Hanna-Barbera-inspired look and earned him an Emmy Award for his character designs. He would also serve as the character designer for the How to Train Your Dragon television series, receiving his second Emmy for his contributions. In recent years, he has worked on the character design and visual development teams on the likes of Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, The Emoji Movie, and The Grinch. He's been involved in several big projects, and looking at his work, it's easy to see why. Ricky Nierva. Starting his career at Hanna-Barbera, he served as a storyboard artist on Dexter's Lab, and then went on to have a lengthy tenure at Pixar. His first job at Pixar was as a story artist on Toy Story 2, and he was then given the task of designing several of the monsters in Monsters, Inc., and came up with all sorts of creative creatures while also developing Mike and Sully into their final familiar forms. He would continue to design characters for Pixar's next film, Finding Nemo, winning an Annie Award for the various fish and undersea creatures we see in that movie. He was the production designer for Up and returned to the world of Monstropolis from Monsters University. He has primarily been involved in the development departments at Pixar and would also receive credits on Inside Out, The Good Dinosaur, and Soul. Ricky Nierva absolutely deserves recognition for his contributions at Pixar, and he has certainly come a long way since beginning his career on Dexter's Lab. Carey Yost. A layout artist on Dexter's Lab, Yost has built up an impressive list of credits, mostly in character design, but in other departments too. A lot of his early career was spent at Cartoon Network, as in addition to Dexter, he was also a storyboard artist on shows like Cow and Chicken, and was part of the writing, storyboard, and design teams on the Powerpuff Girls and Samurai Jack. And he even spent some time at Disney doing layouts on Schnookums and Meat and Timon and Pumbaa. A major assignment was when he was tasked with designing characters for the short-lived cult animated series Clone High, and it would not be the final time he would collaborate with Phil Lord and Chris Miller. He would later be the lead character designer on Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, and thus became responsible for a lot of that movie's look, and he would come back for Clone High's recent revival. He's also contributed to SpongeBob SquarePants, designing characters for the movies and television series. He's even returned to Cartoon Network on occasion, doing designs for Uncle Grandpa, among other projects. I find his silly, distinctive designs have a lot of comical appeal. Charlie Bean. A layout and storyboard artist on Dexter's Lab, he has managed to rise up the ranks and carve a solid animation and directing career. His first credits were on Tiny Toon Adventures, where he worked on character layouts and model designs, and would have similar roles on The Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog, Batman the Animated Series, and The Critic. He also did character designs for the Beethoven animated series. Over at Cartoon Network, he was able to hone his storytelling skills starting on Dexter's Lab and Cow and Chicken. He would also help write the Powerpuff Girls movie and a number of Samurai Jack episodes. And an episode of SpongeBob SquarePants he wrote would earn him an Emmy nomination for Outstanding Animated Program. Charlie Bean then directed several episodes of the science fiction animated shows Robot Boy and Tron Uprising. He made his feature directing debut on the Lego Ninjago movie, showing his skill at handling a movie with the same sense of creativity brought to his television work. He was then hired to direct the live-action remake of Disney's Lady and the Tramp, and I personally found this to be one of the better remakes Disney has produced. The original film is one of my favorite Disney movies, and I thought Bean did a nice job of telling this romantic story and making good use of the dog actors. The changes also worked in making this remake stand apart from its inspiration. His next project does not appear to have been announced, but I'm definitely curious what it might be. Conrad Vernon. Another person who worked on Dexter's Lab in the layout and storyboard departments, Vernon has had quite the career in both film and television. In addition to Dexter, he also storyboarded episodes of Ren and Stimpy, Rocko's Modern Life, Two Stupid Dogs, and Nightmare Ned. He then moved over to DreamWorks Animation, where he worked on the story team on films like Ants, The Road to El Dorado, and Shrek. On the latter movie, he storyboarded the Gingerbread Man torture scene, which then led to him voicing Gingy for the entire franchise. On Shrek 2, he served as one of the directors, and then would later direct Monsters vs. Aliens and Madagascar 3 for DreamWorks. Seth Rogen soon hired him to direct, alongside Greg Tiernan, the R-rated animated feature Sausage Party, which he then followed up with the animated Addams Family movies. Some years ago it was announced that Vernon would direct an animated Jetsons movie, but that does not appear to be happening anymore. So now he's currently the supervising director for the upcoming Sausage Party series on Amazon Prime. Conrad Vernon has proven himself someone with quite the wild sense of humor, which has definitely come through on many of the projects he has worked on. Rob Renzetti. A director on several episodes of Dexter's Lab, Renzetti is someone whose work you've definitely seen if you tuned into Cartoon Network, Nickelodeon, and Disney Channel at any point in the last 30 years. He has become a prominent figure in television animation, primarily as a director and storyboard artist. Along with Dexter's Lab, Rob Renzetti has also directed episodes of Two Stupid Dogs, The Powerpuff Girls, Samurai Jack, and even spent a bit of time on Family Guy. He was also director and writer on Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends, with him winning an Emmy Award for co-directing the Foster's Home special Destination Imagination. He would create his own show for Nickelodeon, My Life as a Teenage Robot, which received high praise during its run for its visual imagination and humor. He then moved over to Disney, where he served important roles on Gravity Falls and Big City Greens, before joining his longtime Cartoon Network friend Craig McCracken on his Netflix show Kid Cosmic, which he was director, writer, and producer on. But looking at his early work on Dexter's Lab, you can definitely see a lot of the elements that would shape his future output. Paul Rudish. Nowadays, he's primarily known for his work on an iconic cartoon character, but on Dexter's Lab, Rudish is one of the principal art directors on the show, in addition to designing models, drawing storyboards, and directing some episodes. He even won an Annie Award for writing the episode The Beard to be Feared, in which Dexter grows a beard and gets thrown into an action plot. He would provide character designs and storyboards for several other Cartoon Network shows, including The Powerpuff Girls and Samurai Jack. He would take on multiple roles in Genndy Tartakovsky's Star Wars Clone Wars animated series, winning 2 Emmy Awards. A few years later, he would co-create Symbiotic Titan with Tartakovsky, wrote and storyboarded several episodes of Wander Over Yonder, and was part of the design team on My Little Pony: Friendship is Magic. However, what most people associate Paul Rudish with are the new Mickey Mouse shorts. These sought to bring Mickey back to his early personality and succeeded wonderfully, with a lot of clever and wacky humor and inspired character designs for Mickey and his friends. For Mickey Mouse, he would win 2 more Emmys, along with an Annie for his character designs. From Dexter all the way up to Mickey, Paul Rudish certainly knows how to find the funny in famous cartoon characters. Butch Hartman. When hearing his name, the image that usually comes up is that of a pink hat-wearing boy who hangs out with fairies, but before that he was a storyboard and background artist for Dexter's Lab. He was also involved with Johnny Bravo, Cow and Chicken, and I'm Weasel, although the most curious fact about his 90s animation career was that he served as a live-action reference model on Disney's Pocahontas, including for John Smith. Eventually, he would pitch to Nickelodeon the show Fairly Odd Parents, which centered on Timmy Turner, who, as the theme song states, is an average kid that no one understands, but he has magical fish that grant his every wish, because in reality they're his fairy godparents. The show was a massive success and got attention for Hartman's drawing style and the wacky sense of humor. This would launch a major franchise for Nickelodeon, including live-action movies and a live-action show, while also running for many seasons. He would then create more animated series for Nick, with Danny Phantom, Tough Puppy, and Bunsen is a Beast. He was involved with the American dub of the Magic Roundabout movie titled Dougal, although he later revealed that barely any of the material he wrote was used. At some point, he left Nickelodeon and would take on the odd project or two, including a Kickstarter for a faith-based streaming service that never happened, and a Christian-themed animated series for Pureflix, a faith-based streaming service that actually exists. But the show Butch Hartman will be most recognized for will always be The Fairly Odd Parents, and that's quite a legacy to have. Craig McCracken, probably the second most important collaborator on Dexter's Lab, McCracken had many hands on the series, including as director, storyboard artist, and art director, and worked closely with Genndy Tartakovsky to help bring it to life. At the same time, he had his passion project, a short about 3 superpowered young girls, which eventually morphed into the Powerpuff Girls. That series allowed McCracken to showcase his signature style of bright colors and fast-paced action, along with his winning sense of humor. He would also direct the big screen film version of the Powerpuff Girls. He would follow it up with his next Cartoon Network series, Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends, while also helping out with other shows on the channel. He moved to Disney for his next series, the delightful space-set adventure Wander Over Yonder, and then hopped over to Netflix for his comic-inspired Kid Cosmic. Now he's at the recently named Hanna-Barbera Europe, working on new Powerpuff and Foster shows. But you can definitely see how Dexter's Lab informed him, and while he was not involved with Samurai Jack, I've always thought Jack looked a lot like Professor Utonium, and I've often wondered if that was an intentional tip of the hat from Genndy Tartakovsky, especially since he worked on the Powerpuff Girls. And the number one name you may recognize in the Dexter's Laboratory credits is Seth MacFarlane. I don't think I need to mention who Seth MacFarlane is, as he's widely known as the creator of Family Guy, but the lead up to that point is fascinating. He began his animation career at Hanna-Barbera, with Dexter's Lab being one of the series he was a writer on, although he has mentioned in interviews that Johnny Bravo was the Cartoon Network series he most enjoyed working on. And then he had a stint writing for the Ace Ventura Pet Detective animated series and Disney's Jungle Cubs. Of course, Family Guy would eventually find its way to Fox, where it was infamously cancelled, then uncancelled, then cancelled again, and then brought back one more time, where it's stayed ever since. He's also directed the Ted movies and A Million Ways to Die in the West. However, my favorite Seth MacFarlane project is The Orville, creative and smart homage to Star Trek that tackles plenty of interesting themes, along with being an optimistic view of the future. The success he's had is quite remarkable, so it's amazing to think it all started when he began writing scripts for young scientists. The amount of big names who spend their early career on Dexter's Laboratory truly is amazing, and it's been fascinating watching them grow. See you next time.